You've got a piece of art in your folder. You look at her? We have an assistant at our school, and we asked her to create a little art for us, and she said, okay.
She drew that? It's an original piece of art.
Oh, my goodness.
For this one.
Oh, thank you.
Her name is Tia, and that's what you have in your folder.
I had people stand up that I wanted to thank on Friday. You can see why, because nobody's here. I really want to give a special thanks to three people, and I do this. I mean, it's very risky business to pick three out, but because I really hear all of you share all of your gifts. But many of you met Katie this weekend, and she just worked very hard. She seems so Katie. Tim is a parent with no obligation to catechism, except by virtue of the school. Thank you, Tim, for giving up. And third is for again the messenger who is not here, but really works hard, arranging rides, arranging snacks, flowers, and all kinds of things. So we're sure to thank you. And then, of course, I also want to thank Jennifer. You've been great. And we will continue. Universal. That's all I know. Very much.
Just
Good morning.
Good morning, Jennifer.
Let's start with a moment of silence to acknowledge the land upon which we gather today and the First Nation bands that lived here prior to European contact. So, we begin again. So our topic this morning is to love in communion with the universe, God, and the child. So let's start with the child. How do we know when a child is having an experience of God, an experience of Spirit? How do we know that? How do you know that as catechists? What do you see? What happens?
Sometimes I moment of silence in that. They just pause to
They pause to absorb. What else?
Sometimes it's a great sigh of satisfaction.
A sigh of satisfaction. What else?
It's similar, but sometimes extended periods of stillness and silence.
Extended periods of silence. I just asked the question. Yes.
Could we get a count for dinner? How many people are going to be here for dinner?
For lunch?
Lunch.
Or dinner?
Yeah.
The big chicken dinner. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2.
I know at least 2 more people are coming.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 people for dinner?
Amanda will come.
25 at max?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because we have 43 down.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. Sure, no problem.
So do we just scream that out to the world?
Now everyone knows the dinner plan.
All right. Okay, so we're just talking about how do we know when a child is having an experience of God?
Oh, they sing.
They
They
sing.
sing, like on the swing on the toilet, but they're singing something. That they learned in the atrium, in the car.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know, it's really addictive.
Yeah.
Sometimes we see a spark in their eye.
A spark in their eye. Yes.
When they close their eyes while in the prayer table.
When they close their eyes while at the prayer table.
Sometimes I just need to draw about it.
It's a way of coming into communion, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Sometimes dancing.
Dancing. To to spontaneously dancing and singing. So there's a lot of joy, isn't there? A lot of joy. Anybody else? Okay. Yes.
Yes, I'm grandma. I'm my first grandchild. She's almost 3 months. When I start changing her diaper, and she's crying, I start singing, or ask her, where's your angel? Where's your angel? Just look at me and just start to cry. And sometimes that singing in Spanish, but she's doing in Spanish. Religious song for a little girl. I just start crying a little bit, just a little more. 3 months.
So she's crying and then she quiets down. She's looking around. Peaceful. So peace.
Which you sang a song to.
And you sang a song.
Yeah.
Thank you. I remember my son, when I would tell him stories and his eyes would start to shine. It was the shining eyes signal. And I saw that as a sign, as an amazing sign. Well, what does Sophia Cavallotti say? She talks about wonder. Wonder is an experience, right? Isn't that an experience of God? The sense of wonder. And she says, wonder, it is not a force that pushes us passively from behind. It is situated ahead of us and attracts us with irresistible force toward the object of our astonishment. It makes us advance toward it, filled with enchantment. So, connection to the past, pull to the future, this enchantment. So now the cosmos, how do we bring the cosmos in? Remember, our topic is to love and communion with God, the cosmos, and the child. Maria Montessori says, whoever touches the life of the child touches the most sensitive point of the whole universe, which has roots in the most distant past and climbs toward the infinite future. So that enchantment, like I'm a certified spiritual director, and what we were trained so much in is God is in a place where things are being born. God is in the place where the new is coming into being. And we have that in Scripture, so many places. Just one example in Isaiah. For I am about to create new heavens and a new earth. The former things shall not be remembered or come to mind. I'm creating a new heaven and a new earth. The former things shall not be remembered or come to mind. That's
The bounce back. Oh my God. The bounce back?
Oh, yeah.
That would really be true.
Yeah, so, it's about the future. It's not about getting stuck in the past. It's not about just repeating things over and over and over and over and over again. But it's in this drive for the new. And so we see, so what do we see? What do we see in the cosmic story? When you look at the cosmic story, what's happening? New things. Exactly. New things are happening. So when you look at the whole cosmic story, what's a particular new thing that came into being that sort of really touches you in a special way? When you look over the whole 14 billion years. I'm I'm sure there's something. Yes. New elements. Do you have a bonus for any particular one? Oxygen. Carbon. Yeah, what do you like about carbon?
It's like parts that within carbon atoms and create cells.
Right, so there's this breathing in and carbon being actually turned into tissue, cells and tissue. So we're so connected with the air around us. It's becoming us every second. We're breathing out, breathing in, becoming us, we're breathing out. What's another thing that, another new thing in the whole story that you were particularly enchanted with?
I never noticed, but my daughter is a microbiologist, and she got enchanted with bacteria and sends me pictures from her microscope. And it's just amazing. So,
Yes.
Slowly becoming delighted with bacteria.
It's taking a while.
I appreciated what they did all those millions of years between, the first bacteria and forms of life.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, just that we had only bacteria for 2 billion years on Earth before the first eukaryotes began to arrive. Yeah.
I'm amazed at the beauty of it all. How beautiful not the Earth is and everything in it, but the cosmos and the creation of the cosmos. And you see images from the telescopes. It's so breathtakingly beautiful.
Yes, it didn't really have to be beautiful, right? Or did it? Maybe it did. But the fact that it is.
Colors,
Yeah.
dimensions.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Thomas Berry and some big ideas that he introduced. And of course, I am a huge Thomas Berry devotee, if you will. It's a serious case. Because that's what I learned when I was at Genesis Farm. Remember, I told you that's where I first had my exposure to this work. That was with Sister Mary McGillis, the Dominican sister. So there are 12 principles, and I'm going to give this document, which is very simple actually. It's just like a page and a half, and I'm going to send it to you in an email along with some other resources which you can send in to people. So I'm going to simplify it even more a bit. But the first big idea is the universe is the primary revelation of that ultimate mystery whence all things emerge into being. Okay, let me repeat that. The universe is the primary revelation of that ultimate mystery whence all things emerge into being. So, it's like we're getting to know the universe again now, as religious people. Indigenous have that intimacy with the universe, but we are coming to it sort of again, coming back to it. And this is probably one of the most important things that's happening in the consciousness of humankind right now, is to come to that place of intimacy with the physical world. The physical world. So the second big idea is everything is derived out of the universe. There's nothing that you can look at or think about that's physical that didn't come out of and is the universe. So there's nothing coming from somewhere else. It's all a single unity. And everything is part of it. There's nothing separate. So it all is derived out of the universe, and it is the universe. Oh, Brian Swift has this great quote about take a cloud of hydrogen, leave it alone for 14 billion years, and it turns into giraffes and, the music of Bach and the great cathedrals. I'm freelancing a little bit here. But what's the point? The point is everything, the music, the great thoughts, everything that we have is part of this whole process. It's not separate. It's all a single process. Then the next big Thomas Berry idea. Everything is a communion of subjects, not a collection of objects. Okay, this is huge.
Can you say that again?
Everything is a communion of subjects, not a collection of objects. So how do you hear that? Yes.
I think it explains to me why in other languages an item is either masculine, feminine, or neuter. Because when I first studied French, I thought, why is a window feminine? I mean, why are inanimate objects, why do they have a gender? Yeah, and maybe because I see them as an object, but they're really subjects.
There we go. There's some form of interiority. Yes. Great, thank you.
It recalls to mind for me years ago hearing Sophia talk about the Genesis story, and this phrase that, for centuries has been used to abuse the earth, and have dominion over the earth. And her saying that the word dominion comes from domicile, which means your home. So you care for this. And so this idea of everything being a communion of subjects, everything is a communion of subjects. It's so different than if it's all objects that we have dominion over, instead of we are at home in this place.
Wow, I never heard
that is.
Who said that?
Sophia Cavalli explained
Sophia Cavalli said that? Oh, wow. Right, that's exactly the idea. Yeah. So everything has an interiority, and it's in communion. So it's not just object. It's not just flat object with no interiority. So you can say that even, who was I talking to yesterday about the rocks up in the Southwest? Oh, yes. Yeah. Say what you said yesterday.
Okay, well, I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is a mile in elevation. And we're oriented towards the mountain to the east, which is the fault. It's Sandia Peak, it's the range, fault line. But that's 7,200 feet. And I think but the air there, the atmosphere, is just thinner enough, and the light is so intense that you have the sense when you're walking along amongst rocks that they are glowing and not opaque. It's like the sun might penetrate, and you get this sense of the rock consisting of atoms. Even a small child has this sense. And so when the song says, the hills shall jump for joy, and things will clap their hands, it's very plausible. And it's also very congruent with the Navajo and Pueblo culture, in which everything is sacred and
Yes, great. And that would be another way of saying this. Everything is sacred. Everything is sacred. A communion of subjects, not a collection of objects. Yeah. So, of course, turning things into objects is at the root of so much evil in the world. If you wanted to reduce that down to something that's happening, the cruelty, the way we treated the earth, that comes from objectifying it, not seeing it as something of its own interiority. But now, and amazingly through science, which is sort of an objectifying, endeavor, we're seeing this aliveness and the interconnection of everything. So, just for example, if you've done any work with plate tectonics, and you look over time, if you look at these videos where the plates are moving around, you just look at this and you go, oh my God. This, alive might not quite describe it, but it has an inner dynamic. It has an inner dynamic. And we're part of that. We're part of that. We're not sitting on top of it, we're part of it. You might think we're on top of it because of our big ideas and all that, but we're actually part of it.
The idea that change is constant.
Yes, change is constant, absolutely constant. And that's, of course, one of the big things that we have to embrace inside of this new story. Thomas Berry calls it a new story. But this is a new story. And he says in his landmark essay that came out in 1978 called The New Story, just now we're in between stories. The old stories don't quite work, but we still don't have a new story yet. But the new story is emerging, and the new story is integrating, this view that science is giving us, and it's integrating us with the wisdom of, the indigenous traditions, with the classical religions, with the wisdom of women, and the wisdom of science, the four wisdoms.
And children.
And children. That's good. Okay, fine.
You got some true believers.
Okay, fine. All right. So another big Thomas Berry idea. The three basic laws of the universe at all levels of reality are differentiation, subjectivity, and communion. I'm going to explain these in a second. These laws identify the reality, the values, and the directions in which the universe is proceeding. Okay, so differentiation. Let's look at that. It's back to change. Who was that? You said. Things are changing. Things are changing. Things are differentiating. They're turning into different things. The earth didn't exist once upon a time. And you know what? It's not going to exist for 5 billion years. It has a life. And then speciation. Look at that. Speciation. You have things turning into different species. You have reptiles, splitting and forming mammals coming out of reptiles. And then mammals, 6,000 kinds of mammals come into being. So what does that tell you about God? What does that tell you about the universe? That, wow, there's a real love of diversity, of trying out different things. And why is that a good and important thing? Because you know what? It helps survival. Because things are always changing. And somebody's going to more likely survive if you have all of this diversity. Because if everything, remember what happened with the potato famine, right, in Ireland? What happened there? People died because they planted potatoes all over. And then when the potatoes, didn't produce because they were all one kind of crop, there was nothing that could make it. There's no food. So diversity, differentiation is so important for the whole story.
Has there ever been a merging? Because it sounds like everything has always gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, different, more species, more planets, more galaxies, more elements on the periodic table. Does anything ever?
Well, we have extinctions.
Yeah, wide massive extinction. Yeah.
Well, okay, but that's the end of something. That's not the same thing as converging. Has any species ever converged? Have there ever any elements ever converged?
Yeah, okay. You know what? There are cases of this. I just can't remember.
Okay.
I just know that it's not all that often, but yes.
Well, the bacteria, when you think of what happened initially, where the mitochondria go inside.
Yeah.
If you just read her first book, that's emerging. Emerging.
If you look at anything, we see the sort of attraction. We see erosion, but it takes thousands of years to wear a rock into sand. And particularly in the West, where there's mountains that are still, they still have their peaks and their faults, and you see the water courses. The water courses out closed. So there is that.
But the sand never goes back, never coalesces into a rock again.
Yes. Sedimentation and
Good. I thought it was just all going this way.
That's a good point. Yeah. It's all depending on the conditions. That sand can be pushed together again, or become magma down below, and then explode through a volcano and cool down into rock again.
Okay, so it's more cyclical than just
Well, yeah, all the elements. Everything's made out of those elements. The elements have to combine and converge to create most of what we have. Most of the elements aren't existent as single elements.
You are a convergent.
Okay, so differentiation. You've got that. Then subjectivity. So if you look at the whole story of the universe, you can see increasing subjectivity. So we go from energy to elements to into stars, and inside molecules begin to form, and then when life starts, the molecules come together into bigger chains and then loop. And what happens when the first cell is born is there's interiority, and so the cell can actually decide, maybe you don't want to say decide, but in some way is experiencing its environment.
It's a decision, in some sense, it's a very chemical decision, but it's.
Right. Yeah, right. So it's, what you see there is this increasing subjectivity as you go through the story. So animals can then, walk around, and then they can fly, I mean, these are huge leaps in being able to make decisions and decide what direction you want to go in. And then, of course, with humans, you have these crazy creatures. Totally crazy creatures.
Would it be fair to say that there becomes an increasing complexity in how things can respond to the environment around them?
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. So it's increasing, like Teilhard calls it, increased complexity consciousness. Increasing complexity, increasing consciousness. But that's also in here. So increasing consciousness. When we say subjectivity, we're talking consciousness. Other words might be interiority, self-determination. So take each one of these things and be, what's the trajectory here? What's the trajectory? Here's a trajectory. Look at the trajectory. Okay, if you shoot an arrow, right? It's flying that way. You look at where it came from. You look at, and then just chart its path. That's what we're talking about. There's going to be increasing subjectivity. There's going to be increasing differentiation. And then increasing communion. So that's the third one. Communion. What does communion mean? Communion means interconnection of all of these subjectivities. Everything is completely interconnected, and it's becoming more and more and more so. And all we have to do is just look back in history to see that. Just looking at humankind alone, we had, people evolved, and we started to planet, and, then at one point we started telephones, and you could call Europe, and now you can send a message like that to, millions of people in the whole planet. So what's the trajectory here? What do you think the trajectory?
Communion.
Yeah. And, with the migration, I've been talking, who's it, Anita, there she is, in the back. Migration, of course, is happening on such a scale. I mean, it's always happened. It's always been. But the thing is, it's tightening. The positive part about it is that it's tightening the connections of everybody in the entire planet. So looking at these broad governing themes, that's what Tonsberry calls them, governing themes, you can use them for ethics. Now, Sister Tony Nash, she's on our network, and she's giving a course in the spring called Spiritual Leadership. And it's looking at these governing themes and how you apply them to the crises of our day. So take agriculture for an example. If you want to do GMOs and wipe out diversity, what do you think is going to happen? That's not in keeping with the governing themes, right? That's not in keeping. So what an agriculture that would be in keeping is to maintain the diversity, maintain the connection between the farmers and the land and the people who are eating the food. There needs to be this connection, an interaction, communion. There needs to be the communion. There needs to be the differentiation, a lot of diversity, and there needs to be the subjectivity. So people need to be aware of what it means to grow food and how it affects the planet and how it affects our health and how it affects everything. So bringing those three things together.
What was that? Let's do that.
Tony Nash. She's the assistant centrist.
And it's on your website?
Yes. She did her dissertation with Brian Slim, and the dissertation is on the network. And the title is Cosmological Commitment. And anybody can read it. You know, just go to the resources section and search for it by that title, Cosmological Commitment, or by her name, Tony Nash. Okay. Okay, I'm just giving you very much a thumbnail, you know, dip into these waters, but I really strongly encourage a deep dive. Let me just read two more pieces of the principles. The ecological age, a new intimacy is sought with the integral functioning of the natural world. Destructive anthropocentrism is replaced with ecocentrism. Transition to the primacy of the integral earth community. This is a key phrase. The primacy of the integral earth community. So when we're making decisions, policy decisions, how is what we're doing affecting this, the primacy of the integral earth community? And then this last point here, the newly developed ecological community needs a mystique of exaltation and finds it in the renewal of the great cosmic liturgy, which celebrates the new story of the universe and its emergence through evolutionary processes. So liturgy, what he's saying is, you know, liturgy needs to, you know, be done in this context of the cosmos, you know, cosmic liturgy. So, good stuff. Amazing stuff. By the way, there's an organization called Sisters of Earth. Has anybody ever heard of that? Anyway, that's a great organization.
It's in Pennsylvania.
It's kind of all over the place. Yeah. They have about 400 members.
I know a lot of sisters who could be sisters of Earth.
I bet they are. They are. Anyway, Tony Nash actually was one of the people who founded it. And they have a conference every other year. But that's the whole focus of their work, is to celebrate liturgy inside of this cosmic context, this earth context. Okay. All right. All right. Anybody have a comment or a thought before I go to the next? Before I go to a parallel?
I don't have that at all. I'm just sitting at the office with interest. But when you look at the Torah and all the commandments and all of the detailed commandments, I've been looking at it as you get these 10 commandments which you keep there, and then you collide with the circumstances of your life in a community. And so you get all these things. And one of the things that you hear repeatedly in Leviticus and Theology is the aspects of your nature of things. So these weird ideas like don't hitch an ox with a donkey, don't mix linen and wool. And I think we connect it with others of these commandments. It's like working out with God's people. How do these big 10 years work in everyday life, in every situation? So it's a very positive way to look at what is this helping to facilitate? And it's communion.
It's communion.
It's communion.
Yes, right. Right. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. But also maintaining interiority, maintain the differentiation. See, that's the real. We're not saying this is easy. Okay, right?
Right.
Because if you're gonna, let's say you're in a family that doesn't want to have you be a musician, right? Okay, but you know you have to be a musician. Okay, your own interiority is going to drive you there, right? So you're going to break something, but you'll want to come back somehow and restore that. But it's this interplay, right? It's this interplay of communion, interiority, differentiation, being conscious of it.
And having compassion for people and animals and things and plants, respecting their nature, and then trying to live this is how life is going to live.
Yes.
We try to make life work, as well as possible. So you see this process of it's like, Isaiah with the priest, Jesus' got this sort of relatively compact body image. This is my body, this is my blood, and then people go, what? How does that work? So you have people talking about, does this mean that it turns into blood? What does that mean? How can that be? So you see a lot. This tradition.
Absolutely. Working things out. Yeah. Working things out. As Taylor says, it's an unfinished universe. It's an unfinished universe, which goes to the Cavalier idea of collaboration. We're working things out. We're figuring it out. Like, evolution is happening in this room right now.
My brain is exploding.
I think that's the most important thing you said today, is that we're figuring it out, because that implies hope. And the core of our faith is, faith, hope, charity. And without hope, which is where we find ourselves, because everything politically that's happening across the globe is causing isolation at a time when we need communion. But the part we keep not hearing that's causing, I think, despair is that idea that we aren't working it out. That it is hope. So I think it's that hope that helps keep that fire within each of us to continue working it out. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's hard to be charitable when you don't have hope.
Right. Right. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go to the mustard seed parable. I know. Nothing else is parable. So good. Okay, let me read. I'm going to read the parable from Matthew. He said another parable before them, saying, "The kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is smaller than all seeds. But when it is grown, it is greater than the herbs and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and lodge in its branches. All right. I'm going to hand out some mustard seeds. So I should start that one off here. And we can start this one right there. I've got one more. More people. Now don't drop it. Don't lose it. Take one and hold it in your hand. What? Were you saying you're not mustard seeds?
They're not the mustard seeds we use. We use daily mustard.
Oh,
And that's the tree that he's talking of, which is much smaller.
Oh.
And the seed is like
So
a
a regular
speck.
mustard is from this top.
Okay, well, just pretend.
We'll give you some.
Okay.
Still pretty small.
Yes.
What they only got. Yes, these have beautiful yellow flowers.
Okay, does everybody have their mustard seeds?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so just ponder it for a minute. See how tiny it is. And think about what can grow out of that tiny little thing. So now I'm going to read another mustard seed story. This is a cosmic mustard seed story. The kingdom of heaven is like this. Once, the universe was so tiny, way smaller than a mustard seed, smaller than a speck of dust. Then, in a flash, the tiny thing blew up to the size of a galaxy and kept on growing. It grew and grew and grew. It morphed into stars and planets and creatures, large and very small, that swam, crawled, walked, and flew. They moved and had their being in seas and land and air. So what does this mustard seed story mean? And what does cosmic mustard seed story mean?
It multiplies the parable.
Because we think of, how amazing this tiny seed becomes a tree, but just imagine the tiny seed becoming a zero universe is really amazing. I'm just thinking if we begin our story about, the future of sacred history, and we say, it was as small as a mustard seed, smaller than the mustard seed that Noah, and he came. Then they have a point of reference for tiny seed to be growth. It's the same dynamic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's that same power that we talk about when we talk about the power of science.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah. Yes.
Can you say, when it's at its smallest point, it has all the elements to be able to grow?
Yes.
It has to have.
It has that. It does. That's what science is telling us. That's what science is telling us.
It makes it even more of a miracle.
Exactly. Right.
Years ago, this friend brought that chapter into the other night from the book of poetry. Years ago, he was doing the mustard seed parable with a group of children, and this little girl, Grace, who was 4, was, I think, the first time she'd done it, and she said, I think there's something in this seed that we don't know everything about yet. Which is we're figuring things out.
Exactly. We're figuring it out. And it's never going to be done. That's the other thing. We'll figure it out all the time. There's always more. But yes. So I guess you're saying that might even be what else? Other reactions to that?
I just can't figure out how the whole universe could be in there. Yeah, I just, that's when you told the story of the universe and you started with such a little thing. I guess I always started with all the gases and all the chaotic part that was already big, and then it just, but that little.
Yeah.
And yet, I'm a part of it.
Yeah.
Right.
See, but that particle wasn't a dome. It was floating aimlessly in the cold, dark vastness of space. It didn't know there were others like it. And at a certain moment, God called the particles together.
But in the beginning, there was only one, right?
Yeah. In the beginning, there's a singularity.
I read a story in Children's Chapel. I got it in New York before I got it for you. And it talks about this little point. I don't know who the author is. Yeah, have you seen it? It's another beautiful children's book.
Okay, what's the name of it?
I don't even know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll find out. And send it to you. So I was going to ask you that. But I just loved it, and I was showing it to the children in my children's chapel. And when he said love, yeah, I mean, they did it.
Yeah.
And we always, no matter how, this is so fascinating, and we want to know, and it's hopeful, and it's wonderful, but we always have to hang on, to love.
But that's how God created, like goodness.
Yeah, that's right. So, and I was talking to my son about this last night. He's really smart. And he should be a priest, but he won't be. Anyway, very theological. I want to get a doctor. He didn't do that here. But he's very spiritual. He's very intelligent. He was in Afghanistan. 2 books he took were the Episcopal Prayer Book and Bible, and McGrath's book on LS and McGrath's book on systematic theology. Anyway, I was telling you about all those wonderful things that we're learning, and he said, Mom, remember, faith is believing, and we hope for, and we certain of what we do not see. We'll never understand it all. Mm-hmm. But with faith, it's going to be okay, with trust. And, but it's wonderful to be exploring all this.
The videos that I'm going to send to you, so there's some links to conversations with cosmologists, and they're very short. There's the webinar that we did. That's going to go in the I could hold that out for a few more days. If anybody's interested in hearing directly from a scientist about how this works, that could be a presentation, and then the conversations with the scientists who are building the telescopes in the Atacama Desert in Chile. They're really profound. How they're figuring this out. So the webinar that we just had, the most recent one, is on that very subject. How do you know that? That's what that's about. Yeah. It's not like everybody's saying, oh, we understand it entirely. There isn't a scientist in this world who would say that. What they would say is, this is the evidence we have, and it's what it shows us. A big distinction. Yes?
What I think about is that the tiniest seed, with all its elements, will go into a big tree where the birds rest. So even the tiniest seed, uniquely made, has a purpose in the grand communion of the universe, and it's just really, you just have to have faith that that will happen once it gets big.
Absolutely, that's right. So let's just, because this idea of small turning into something significant is so key. It's a key idea that comes out of Scripture over and over and over again in a million ways. And it's present in the cosmic story over and over and over again. The small, insignificant thing becomes the amazing thing that brings in the new. So what are some examples of that? Can you think of some examples of that in the cosmic story? Or the Scripture story? Jesus. Okay, Jesus. Right. Exactly. Babies. Fly in the corner of the globe, and look what the tree that comes out of that.
The country of Israel.
The country of Israel. Exactly. Yeah. What else? What
babies.
What's that?
Babies.
Babies. Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
I think all of the trends in all the stories of the Bible where there's a couple that are bare, and we pray for a child, and their prayers are answered. And Sarah and Abraham gave birth to a great nation, even though it really didn't have to grow.
Great. Yeah, that's great. Yes. What else?
Yeah. Mine's a little unusual, but it's weak human weakness. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, in physical terms, a person with an intellectual disability has a weakness that brings out the goodness and the need for human relationships. Mm-hmm. Okay. So a weakness in terms of personal health.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. There was a very wonderful interview on me with this man who was like the father of plate tectonics, a Frenchman. I don't know his name, but he had a connection with the L'Arche community in France. And so he made this amazing sort of connection around your plate tectonics. It's the places of weakness, in a way, in the earth that allow these sort of, new formations and new things to be happening at that level. And so he made this link around, the people that we see as weak or effective or whatever, they are the way that we can, and even in ourselves, the things that we see as weakness, and Jesus is certainly right about this, or Paul does, or whatever. This idea of weakness and things that we perceive as cracks, or they can be the place of transformation, of and that this very thing about people that we perceive as weak or defective, it is the place where we can come together, and there's a reason for that in our community. It's beautiful interview.
What's an example on the cosmic story of something that starts out really, really tiny and then becomes hugely significant? What's that? Mitochondria. Mitochondria, yes.
We now know that they go and trace your genetics. You have very granular mitochondria backward.
This is a matrilineal line. What about mammals? When mammals 65 million years ago, when the dinosaurs were still tromping around, and then went extinct. Right around that time, the mammals were just these little tiny things. Very insignificant. So, if you were wandering around then, and you might see a dinosaur that's 4 stories tall. You might see these little things scurrying around. In fact, they would sleep during the day, and move around at night because that's how they survive. So they get stepped on and out of mammals. Out of mammals. Look what comes out of mammals. So, the insignificant thing is going to become so significant. Look at the birth of our nation. The birth of our nation. Tiny little bands of people,
Small Christian communities.
Small Christian
Christians.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was thinking of the kingdom of God and starting back with Abraham and how the kingdom of God is there.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think there's this whole idea of the integration, the overlap and the integration between what Scripture has been telling us forever, right? And then the patterns that we're seeing now in the cosmos itself. Intuitively, they've arrived at that intuitively. But now we have another way of knowing that's confirming it. So it's like both can really be enhanced, right? Because I'm reading a cosmic story that starts out small. Wait a minute, that's the mustard seed story. So, when you are giving children these stories, you're imprinting them, right? You're imprinting them with patterns. But they intuitively know it already, right? But you're helping to articulate it more. And then they can see those patterns. And then they see them everywhere. You can see them in the science and the stories, the cosmic stories as well. So, integration of all these different perspectives, which is, our title, Communion of God, the Cosmos, and the Child, we're bringing them all together, right? And you all, I have to say, I visited the school with Catherine. Was that a year ago, Catherine?
No, not quite.
Not quite a year. But anyway, to see, the two-show rolled out and to see the timeline, it just blew my mind what they're doing. It totally blew my mind. I had never seen that before. So, you all are a mustard seed. This is one of the mustard seeds right here. And what was her name the other day? She said, "Yeah, we've got all these groups in different states. They're tiny, but she kept saying that. You remember that? We have groups in all these different states. They're really tiny." And I'm like, yeah. That's how it starts. That's how it starts.
It's so amazing to me that Montessori and Cavalletti got this and put it in materials 70, 50 years ago. 80 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
The Big Bang Theory was not even completely, it was coming, but it wasn't completely in shape. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I was struck by this thing of the imagination. And I was sharing Senator Fisher that there was this art exhibit last year, the Phillips collection here of Aboriginal art, this traditional art form. And this images, they just matched exactly the colored image that was on that first day of all it looked like dots, irregular patterns and colors. So these Aboriginal people in Australia are intuiting in their art what this cosmos looks like. It comes somewhere, and they would say it comes from their meditation and their deep connection with everything. But then, like this morning's song I was reading was like, praise the heavens, praise the stars, whatever. This Hebrew tradition, centuries and centuries and centuries ago, long before telescopes, intuitive is grand. Now, their cosmology was not exactly correct in terms of, but still, underneath it, that sense of awe.
Yes.
So that's like, how did Montessori and Cavalletti imagine this? Isn't that amazing?
Yes. Absolutely.
Well, Cavalletti believed in the Bible. That the Word of God was inspired by the Holy Spirit. And that's why we read the actual scripture to the kids along with telling the story. But she believed there was power in it. Yeah. And so she had that, and then Montessori was kind of she was an MD, so putting that together. She's also a Catholic, that's a good word, right? Yeah. So those two together.
I wish on our blue script that instead of starting with the image for the big bang, it started with the tiny little seed. The tiny
little thing, whatever you want to call it. Put it on. Can we put it on? What do you call that?
singularity.
Yeah.
It's not really matter though, is it?
It's energy.
Energy.
Yeah.
Are people familiar with Montessori's actual story of God who has no hands? No. I mean, because our meditations before the future, they're not really quite the same. But it's quite a beautiful story. That's just a few pages long. But I mean, it begins with the human being. It begins with people have always been wondering about God. And it's sad that a lot of Montessori schools now, they don't really tell the story because they can't use the word God.
Well, I think the way I've seen it done in non-religious schools is they say, they talk about how every culture has come up with a creation story, and they name the different creation stories. And then they say, and this story that we're going to talk about now is a science story. So they might not say, they acknowledge this human drive to come up with a creation story. So you get the idea in a way that's acceptable in secular.
Yeah, but it's not as powerful as simply how she said, which is true. People have always wondered about how did we get here.
Yeah, no, they say that. They say that.
Yeah, but then you can say, how could a God with no hand, no body, create these things? And we have all these things, cannot.
There's a book called Children of the Universe that gives the 5 great lessons. If you just want to know, and it's more, it's for teachers who will be presenting them, but it's a lot of detail, but you can kind of see a lot of text and, how it's explored. The structure of the nested stories.
Let's just take about 5 minutes for people to be in groups of 3. And I think your tables sort of break out pretty well that way. And to discuss this question of, how is this integration happening for you? And are there ways that you would like to deepen your integration, going forward? And are there problem areas that you're encountering? So how are you integrated? How would you further like to integrate? What would you like to do? And are there any problems? So just split up in 5 minutes. We'll talk about that. 3 people.
Good, how are you?
Yes. Integrating the science and spirituality. Sorry, integrating the science and spirituality.
Of God. Certainly integration is God created us. They're integrating what they know, right, about things, right? They don't know as much as but just the idea of say, come yes, that's what said come yes, and then right? There's more to us. I mean, that's a detail you had, God, that my thought that you were so mind. We're in charge of it. So what's it speaking? I'm going giving them a little, figuring things out, like they branch out, just like the branches, sort of mirror there. And then side by side. Okay. So, anything come out of that?
Yes, so your last piece.
We were talking about how helpful it was that your parable of the mustard seed, but as the universe and that speck of energy, and then the interconnectedness, how that helps us understand the interconnectedness. And my question, I only had questions. My question was, how does this history of the universe help our understanding and desire for parousia?
Well, what you tell me? What comes to you?
Well, that was my question. I wanted to spend more time. So that was like, in terms of like, what further would you like to do? I want to spend more time with that question.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll tell you a quote from a 7-year-old. I asked him, why do you think it's so important to learn the story of the universe? And he said, because it makes us appreciate that universe. And we see these were his words, so there. You see the complexity and beauty of it, and you want to take care of it. Yeah. So, isn't that a drive toward parousia? Or a drive toward this idea of communion, whatever the redemption, Jesus brings the redemption, but the redemption of the entire universe comes in through our consciousness, not only through our consciousness, but in part as a result of our consciousness. This is, you will come to your own doing that, and then the way you engage in that, but you could ask your students directly that. You say, why is it important to know this? And how does it make you feel different about the parousia? How does it help us to go here? You could ask them that straight out, and you'll be amazed at what kind of answers you get. Yeah.
A very wise priest friend of mine years ago said that he really hopes that someday the church will rewrite the beginning of the Mass to situate it in a cosmic place. The Lord of the cosmos. And, instead of starting with our sinfulness, to make the horizon bigger. Yes. This was not a scientist priest, but he was right on that, right on.
Exactly. And maybe when there's so many catechisms running around the world, and all these young kids going up for countries and all, that's how it's going to change. That's how it's going to change.
Yep.
Yeah. Anybody else? I think we have about one more minute. We're going to start hearing that bell. Well, this has been really wonderful to be with all of you this week, and I can't tell you. Really been a thrill for me.
It's a thrill for us too.
I really want to encourage anybody who's interested to just sign up for free on the network. That's how you're going to find out about programs we have coming up. We have one coming up just in a week and a half on timelines in cosmic education. And then there's a Thomas Berry study group that is starting on October 21st. So if you want to jump into Thomas Berry, we're going to host a study group, and then people will take a Coursera course that was developed by Miriam Hubbard and Brian Swim and John Grant. They're the foremost Thomas Berry scholars in the world, and they developed this course on Coursera. But what happens is people go to the Coursera course and then they don't have a community to do it with. So we're offering a community to do it with. So these people will once a week in a Zoom meeting to discuss what they're learning in the Thomas Berry course.
How do we get to your network?
dtnetwork.org. dtnetwork.org. And you can just sign up for free, you know, you can always get off if you decide you don't want to do it, just for free, and then you'll get the notices, and then you'll get information about the Thomas Berry group, and the timelines, you'll find out about that. And then there's another one coming up in November on reclaiming the cosmic in holiday rituals. So that's back to you. Reclaiming the cosmic in holiday rituals. And that's with the minister, Reverend Dr. Theology, who's from the Church of Canada, United Church of Canada. So we're mixing we have webinars on the science, we have webinars on education, and then we'll have webinars on the spirituality. So we're trying to just move around and keep the distinctions. We need to keep the distinctions, not, don't conflate them, but integrate without conflating, which is, it's tricky. It's tricky. So that's what we're doing. And if you, my email, if you want to email me at any point, is jennifer@dtnetwork.org. And there's a flyer over on the side if you haven't gotten it. That has some of our programs. It doesn't have all of them. So it would just be great to have you on there because, I think there's a lot of people who, I only found out about you a year ago. That sounds crazy. Yeah. I only found out a year ago. And that tells me and I know everybody. So. And it's because Catherine came wandering up after that talk, in Denver, right? What is that?
It was a little exclusion.
It was like the same discovery when I learned cognitive education. So anyway, there's just fostering these interconnections. Is great because people can learn a lot from you, from all of you. So thank you. And I have a pretty song here, but if you don't want to clean up, we'll go to lunch. Hey, oh no, we're going to mass now. That's great. Oh yeah. The Fireball song. This is the Fireball song. We're going to carry you out.
Remember our tip basket here as you go. If you want to add it.